Hi, this is Kirsten Blume, Program on Human Rights and the Global Economy Fellow at the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, corresponding with you this week from Geneva, Switzerland. So last week, due to the U.S. government shutdown, U.S. delegates received a postponement of their hearing before the UN Human Rights Committee on compliance with the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Like hundreds of our allying NGO partners, we at the National Law Center had planned to attend the U.S. Human Rights Committee hearings to advocate on issues of U.S. non-compliance. Particularly, we hope to lobby the committee around the criminalization of homelessness in the U.S. as it violates articles that relate to cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and the right to privacy and liberty. As a legal fellow, I still had the opportunity to travel to Geneva for the week despite the government shutdown and postponement of the U.S. hearings, and doing so has allowed me to keep the meetings that we made with various UN Special Rapporteurs and various international non-governmental organizations. I'm here to report back to you on those meetings and share with you our continued advocacy efforts in Geneva despite the U.S. government shutdown and derailment of the U.S. ICCPR hearing. So first off, the Human Rights Committee opened their 109th session yesterday morning and jumped into the ICCPR review despite the U.S. not being present, and went on as scheduled for reviews of Bolivia and Djibouti this week. The Human Rights Committee chairperson, Sir Nigel Rodley, opened up the session with some strong commentary on the U.S. government shutdown and the U.S. postponement. Sir Nigel noted, and I'll read to you some of his words, he said it was clear that the delegation from the United States was not unwilling to come, but was seriously unable to do so due to the rules and regulations related to the U.S. government shutdown. And he went on to share also some very pointed words directed at the U.S. Republican Party. He noted that the party seemed now to have party members who thought that wealth did not just rhyme with health, but should also determine access to it. And he also noted the hundreds of members of U.S. civil societies who had made plans to attend the U.S. hearings and were impacted by the postponement and had to cancel those plans due to the postponement that will now lead to a U.S. hearing that takes place March of 2014. So based on the U.S. hearing not taking place, I went ahead and followed up with the meetings that we had planned to have this week. And yesterday afternoon, I met with the Human Rights Officer, Juana Sotomayor, specifically about the UN Special Rapporteurs draft on a report regarding security of tenure for urban poor that is due to be published out next year. So I met with Juana in part to discuss where we at the Law Center can best recommend language revolving around the criminalization of homelessness to get into the security of tenure report. And I should note that security of tenure in this context means an explicit or implicit agreement between persons with respect to rights and interest in housing and land, and which enable one to live in their home in security, peace, and dignity. So we discussed essential alternatives to criminalization such as community land trusts and the usage of vacant property that represent unique types of security of tenure that protect against ordinances and laws that criminalize the human needs of homeless people. So we'll submit our suggestions to the Office of the Special Rapporteur on Housing next week for how language about criminalization could be added to the report, and particularly as it is an issue that is important in the U.S., as well as internationally in countries such as Hungary, who's had a prevalent rise in laws that criminalize homelessness. And for more on that, you can check out our blog, The Road to Geneva, and the blog entry called Criminalization of Homelessness from Eugene to Europe. So today, then, I also had the opportunity to meet with Lucy McKernan from the Global Initiative for Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, a non-governmental organization that seeks to address global poverty through a human rights lens. I learned about the Global Initiative's work with advocates in countries around the world as they fight forced prevalent evictions and housing discrimination. And it was inspiring to hear how the agency uses international law and international review mechanisms to hold state governments accountable to human rights standards. So that's what's happened so far this week, and for the rest of the week, tomorrow I'll be meeting with the UN Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights, Magdalena Sepulveda, and with the Human Rights Officer for the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights to Safe Drinking Water and Sanitation, Sanitation, Madoka Saji, to discuss the criminalization of homelessness and learn how best we can advocate on the issue in relationship to their work. So keep a close watch for more to come this week, and thanks for tuning in to this update.